When I opened the door that Tuesday morning, I wasn't expecting to find an envelope taped to my front gate, a bright red warning notice screaming, "Immediate action required, $4,000 fine issued." For a moment, my heart sank. I thought it was some mistake, maybe a property tax issue or an overdue utility I had missed. But as I peeled it off and unfolded the letter, my hands began to tremble with disbelief. Violation, unauthorized pet excessive noise. Property damage. Total fine, $4,000. I stood there stunned, glancing down at Max, my 6-year-old golden retriever, who was wagging his tail, clueless and innocent as ever. Max wasn't just a dog. He was my family, my companion, my emotional support through years of highs and lows. The idea that someone could slap a fine on me because of him felt absurd, cruel, and frankly, impossible. But this wasn't just anyone, this was my HOA, a group of self-appointed rulers of our neighborhood, notorious for fining people over the pettiest things: leaving trash cans visible for 10 minutes too long, planting flowers deemed non-compliant, or parking slightly crooked in a driveway. Still, this was a new low. I immediately called the HOA office. The receptionist, whose voice sounded rehearsed in dealing with angry homeowners, transferred me to the HOA president, Mr. Bradford, a man whose only joy seemed to come from enforcing rules no one cared about. "Rules are rules," Bradford said coldly. "We received multiple complaints about your dog barking excessively and damaging common property." I was floored. Max doesn't even bark half the time. And what damage? He didn't budge. Check your email. We've sent photo evidence. I opened my inbox and sure enough, there it was. Grainy pictures of a dog scratching the side of a fence. Only one problem: it wasn't my dog. The fur was darker, the size didn't match, and the location wasn't even near my property. I called back. "This isn't maximum. You've got the wrong dog." Bradford sighed with fake patience. "Then file an appeal. But until then, the fine stands." And with that, he hung up. I wasn't just angry now, I was on fire. I spent the next 2 days diving deep into the HOA's bylaws. I read every line, every clause, and every outdated, passive-aggressive rule they had written. I noticed something interesting: the appeals process was deliberately vague, designed to confuse homeowners into giving up. So, I didn't go in alone. I called a lawyer who specialized in HOA disputes. Her name was Lisa, and within minutes of reviewing my case, she smirked. "Oh, they messed with the wrong person." But I didn't stop there. I started talking to my neighbors. It turned out, I wasn't alone. An elderly couple had been fined $1,500 because their garden gnomes were deemed unaesthetic. A single father got slapped with a $900 fine because his kids left bikes on the lawn for a single evening. This wasn't enforcement. This was extortion. I created a TikTok and uploaded a video explaining the situation. Imagine getting fined $4,000 because your dog exists. That's what happened to me. Meet Max, the menace. I panned the camera to Max, who was sitting there wagging his tail, looking like the least threatening creature on earth. The video exploded overnight, 2.3 million views in 24 hours. Comments poured in: "HOAs are legalized scams. This is why I'll never live in an HOA neighborhood. Expose them. Keep going." Local news stations reached out. Reporters showed up, asking for interviews. Even a pet rights organization offered legal support. The pressure cooker was heating up, and the HOA felt it. A week later, I received an email from Bradford. The tone was very different now. "Let's discuss this matter amicably before it escalates further." Too late. I attended the next HOA board meeting, not alone, but with 25 neighbors who had also suffered unfair fines. We packed the room. News cameras rolled at the back. I stood up, holding a folder of evidence, photos proving the dog in question wasn't mine, witness statements from neighbors, and HOA bylaws they themselves had broken by trespassing on my property to take photos. "You claim to protect the neighborhood," I said, "but all you've done is harass, intimidate, and fine innocent families for profit." The room erupted in cheers. Bradford turned red. A board member leaned over and whispered something to him, visibly panicked. Under public pressure, media scrutiny, and legal threats, the HOA board called an emergency vote. The results were unanimous. The $4,000 fine was dropped. Bradford was removed as HOA president. All pending unfair fines against residents were reviewed and most cancelled. New transparency rules were implemented, but that wasn't enough for me. I pushed further. Together with neighbors, we formed a homeowner rights committee to ensure this never happened again. We rewrote bylaws that were outdated and abusive. We put limits on the HOA board's power. A month later, I walked Max around the neighborhood. No longer feeling watched. No longer feeling powerless. Max had no idea that his wagging tail had sparked a revolution, but he was happy, and so was I. As I passed the HOA office, where a now hiring new manager sign hung, I couldn't help but smile.